This is our last community pick of the night, and I was really excited that this one was chosen because I think it's beautiful. We have a frame of kind of a red and yellow and orange border around this circular image, which is really fascinating. I'm wondering what people see. How would you describe it? What stands out to you?
There's lines intersecting the image, so there's almost like a swirl going on. Obviously, the border stands out, so it feels like, to me, order in the middle of chaos, almost like a town surrounded by a fire.
Yeah, I think you're totally right with this idea of the town, and there is kind of like a swirly element on top of it, but it's like even beyond that, it really reminds me of a cityscape. And the colors are one of the most interesting, the vibrant ones, but the like reds and pinks and greens, and it reminded me a lot of modern and contemporary South Asian art. What I wanted to think about with this one is Gulam Mohammed Sheikh's Mappamundi suites. And I wanted to think about it in part because he's doing this circle inside, a rectangle. So there's that already kind of sharing a shared element between the two. But also within the circle, he also is doing a city, which is, the city squares, the little buildings, because I was also going to city in my mind with that. Even more than that, so this work is from 2003. I would be willing to bet that most people listening to this haven't heard of him, but he is a really well-known, well-regarded modern Indian artist, and he was active really from the 1960s until now. He's still alive. He was a kind of a post-independence Indian artist, and he was part of this group called Group 1890, which was all about trying to be both authentically Indian in their artwork while also being authentically modern the way that they did it. In the 60s, his work was more abstract. It was, kind of dealing more with the modernist sensibilities. But then the early 2000s, he started doing these Mappamundi suites. And he was really inspired by a European 13th century map that's now been lost, but we have images of. What I also wanted to bring into this was that he is actually doing this through a digital collage process. Like we just saw with the Dada work, that was back in 1919. They didn't have digital art then. Hanahok was literally cutting and pasting different elements to make one new work. He is using digital tools to be able to reproduce various elements and kind of infinitely copy and paste them into these various artworks that are then printed on paper and made into fine art prints. So there's various different images from this series. In this image, you can kind of see elements where he's, focusing in on being authentically Indian. You have people who look very South Asian. If you zoom in, there's other elements that look very particularly South Asian, but then it's inspired by this, medieval European map and that really medieval European look to it. But he's doing all of these different things in a digital medium. So I thought that was really an interesting thing to connect with this Ethereal, which is, obviously a digital artwork, computer generated. There's so many visual similarities that I was really intrigued by this comparison.